They're back, yo. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Meh, of pigandmeh here. So, I went to my locals this past weekend, and I managed to actually get top 4, which is awesome. And not only that, but I did it with Salamangreat, a deck I have been just itching to play again, but not quite 100% sure what to do this format. And I really think that this build is something interesting that not a lot of you have seen before. So let's quit with the BS and kind of show you my top 4 deck, and then I'll get to explaining after the fact. Alright, for Salamangreats, of course, you play the 1 Gazelle, basic play starter, dumps a card, specials, you know, all that jazz. Next, I ran 2 Foxy. My Salamangreat count in this deck is actually really low, and for some ungodly reason, I kept actually resolving this. So, yeah, cool. 2 copies of Spinny. And then the 1 copy of Jack Jaguar to round out the Salamangreat count. Honestly, for this particular variation, which you'll see, you don't need too terribly much, and all of these guys basically do what they need to do. All of them can recur from the grave, and this guy just nets you a bunch of advantage. Next up, for kind of Cyber support, played 3 copies of Flame Buffalo. And this version specifically, this is better than Debug because you want to dig through your deck. For the supplementary engine, I decided to play in this, which I'll explain more when I get to the card after the card I'm going to show you. But believe me, in this version, this is the better card to play. To round out my Cyverse cards, just play 2 copies of Parallel Exceed. The stupid reason is because I only own 2 German copies of this in Super. The actual thought process was I didn't think I needed more than the 2, so I decided to test it out, and in all honesty, I don't think it made a difference if I played 2 or 3, but I knew I didn't really dead draw this when that was the case. Alright. And now the card that kind of shows the thing I decided to mix this with. 2 copies of Eldlich, the Golden Lord. I'll explain this more in depth a little later, but in combination with his card type, he helps out a lot of things, helps you grind through even more things, and overall adds, you know, a big, beefy, non-extra deck boss monster to kind of do stuff. Also, he'll also most likely eat most banished cards so they don't hit your gazelles or stuff. For hand traps, I just ran 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, 2 copies of Drone Lockbird. I honestly think I should have ran 3 of this. That's about all I have to say in that regard. On the spells, you play the 1 field spell and the 1 circle, because they'll only let us have 1 circle because Konami sucks. Next, the card that overperformed today, 2 copies of Will of the Salamangreat. I think this is perfectly fine. I never dead drew it, and in most cases, it also ate out things that, you know, they could have used on other cards. So, yeah, card was fantastic. And of course, your mandatory 3 copies of Cynet Mining. Makes for a very easy side out, games 2 and 3, where you can side 1, maybe 2 copies of this, depending on the matchup. And you have way more discards for this in this version than you do in standard Salad. Like, you don't have to ditch a Salamangreat monster, essentially, in order to plus. For the Eldlich spells, I only own 2, so that's why I'm playing this. Otherwise, you'd play 3 of this card. But this card isn't too bad. And again, games 2 and 3, it's an easy side out. And the last spell is just 1 lone copy of Foolish Burial. This card is really flexible in this build. You can send Golden Boy, you can send your stuff for Will, or you could just send like anything you need. And also, again, games 2 and 3, easy side up. For traps, I ran, the 1 and 1. Didn't think I needed more of either one of them. And yeah. And for Eldlich traps, I ran just the full playset. 3 Conch, 3 Hawk, and 3 of the Dance Party. No regrets whatsoever. These cards are absolutely fantastic. And they're the reason you're on the Buffalo Road, because you want to dig for stuff. And also, these give you an insane amount of grind game. Like, you eat through so much stuff that your opponent could try to do to you. Now, on for the extra deck. Cool monster reborn. I ran 1 Link Spider and 3 copies of this. It literally goes without say. Search the field spell. Best probably Link 1 Cyberse monster in the game. And the reason I opted to run this was because of the Eldlich traps, and also it's a Cyberse. So it can help basically when you just turn 2 access code. For Link 2s, it's exactly what you would expect. You have to play these 6. This guy helps you access code for game, so he's too good. This guy is another just extra OTK. And this one you can use the Eldlich traps to make. So, yeah. For Link 3s, I ran this awesome busted card. And then my 2 copies of Heat Leo. These were okay. The only time I summoned them was the one match I lost all day. And even then, they still function really well. So, didn't see a reason not to play them. But there's part of me that almost wants to play 2 of this. Along with the next card you're about to see. The thing that this deck can do, make this card win the game. Like, literally, Salamangreat has basically become survive a game. Next turn, make this win. Because this card is absolutely stupid, insanely good. And I don't know why Konami printed it. And I do play 1 XYZ, and I just play Terry because he is just a good turn 1 option if you happen to have the ability to do so. And that's the extra deck. Super solid, no issues. The only thing I think maybe I could do for future is play the Rafflesia so I don't extra die as hard to Nibiru, but then that would require access code, or not access code, Parallel Exceed being, more than what it can actually do. For my side deck, I ran the 1 Prankratops. These in case I went up against Action YGO or another like Dragon Link or something. 2 Lancia. 2 Nibiru. And then the cards I sided in literally every game. These 5 cards and Prankratops win in every single game 2 and 3. No questions asked. And then to round it all out, I played 3 Dark Ruler No More. I picked basically the most standard, decent cards possible. So, on to some explanations. Salamangreat Eldlich. So, not gonna lie to you, for some reason, most recently, the only deck that seems to function of any level of consistently for me is Eldlich and various Eldlich builds. I mean, I kind of been trying to play different stuff here and there so I can provide interesting content for the channel. But, when I test these decks, I have to be able to go to locals and perform at a decent rate. And some of the weirder stuff I try to build, it just doesn't work. So I don't end up recording it or don't want to record it. But today I decided to just give a shot of this most random thing because Eldlich and Salamangreat are some of my favorite decks to come out since coming back to this game. And I don't know what was going on. Maybe these cards liked me or something, but this deck performed just super well. Like, all these Eldlich cards give you, like, mid to late game, and them as well as most of your Salamangreat spells, because of Sunlight Wolf, you have an insane amount of recursion of everything. So you have things to discard or play from the graveyard or just do all sorts of crazy stuff with. And, like, for the most part, when I try just regular pure Salamangreat, all it ends up being is live a turn, make access code, win. And yeah, that just kind of got a bit on the boring side. And sometimes you would blow your load and then not be able to actually do anything. Or sometimes you would draw hands that didn't give you the greatest board because Sunlight Wolf with maybe one spell or trap just doesn't cut it, in all honesty. But these cards help supplement and just make the deck have a bit better time going first. And again, Golden Boy is an out to so many cards, it's insane. You can send these to the great, well, not this one specifically, but like these ones. If you can't immediately use them, you can ditch them with Golden Boy to send cards on the opponent's field, or you can set them and then send them to special to have a 35 beater that gets through most threats that actually hurt this deck. And in my first match today, I went against a Generator deck that I posted, and he flipped There Can Be Only One, which is always a problem for this deck. But with Golden Boy, you can just send that bastard. And he's a zombie, so he's another type to just get in and do stuff with, and it's great. And yeah, this deck was just insane how well it actually worked and did. About the only things, and I mean the only things that really beat me were I did not play around Nibiru at all. And the one guy that happened to be maining it punished me super hard for it. And I guess the only other real problem I had is if they just drew a hand with some of these guys, but nothing to really do. I guess I just lost the game or something. I don't know. This deck is crazy. Like, how well this actually worked. And part of me might actually go through and kind of explore it more later, but for now, I am incredibly satisfied and think that this build should be out there for other people kind of wondering a more interesting thing to do with Salad. At least until they bring back Mirage Stalio one day, which they should, because he has no reason to be banned. For the most part, this deck feels fair in 2021, if you ask me, but that's just me. So yeah, Salamangreat Eldlich. A weird concept that surprisingly did really, really well for me. So yeah, this is my top 4 deck profile. This is Meh of pigandmeh, signing out.